Hey guys, Corey here. Hope everybody's had a wonderful weekend. The weather has been great. I think it was 79 degrees here in Owensboro today. Lots of cooking, lots of enjoying ourselves, lots of being lazy, taking a break in August. I've invited a friend of mine on here tonight, and we're going to talk about the update from the on the Plain Language Big Book from the July General Service Board weekend. And it's regarding Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous. So I know you guys heard a lot from my report backs and everything, and then you got to see this memo that came out, and I'm going to read this to you here just so everybody's aware. The General Service Board reviewed correspondence received since the 74th General Service Conference pertaining to Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous, which included letters of concern, appeals, process concerns, and letters of support. Each person who submitted correspondence will receive a personal response. Related floor actions that were proposed but then forwarded to the applicable board or committee by group conscience of the General Service Conference were also reviewed and will also be receiving individual responses, excuse me. The discussion of these matters resulted in the General Service Board affirming its desire and responsibility to implement advisory actions of the General Service Conference that carry by substantial unanimity and expressing agreement with the work of the Trustees Literature Committee. The Trustees Literature Committee reviewed the 2024 Conference Committee on Literature memo to AA World Services, AAWS, publishing regarding 10 additional minor editorial changes, which were intended by the Conference Committee on Literature to be included as part of those given as examples in the advisory action. In past conferences, when minor formatting, grammar, or style changes have been suggested, the editorial notes have been sent directly to publishing without being included in advisory actions. The memo to publishing also included an additional 36 suggestions for which the conference committee had not formed a group conscience and about which sorry, I lost my place. And about which they were asking the publishing department to use its discretion to determine whether and how to implement. After careful consideration, the Trustees Literature Committee agreed to proceed with Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous, based on what was stated in the advisory action from the 74th General Service Conference, plus the first 10 minor editorial changes from the publishing memo. The advisory action stated, the draft manuscript Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous, be approved with minor editorial changes to include relocation of the AA steps table to constitute an appendix on the 12 steps at the back of the new publication. Replace the references to addiction and addicted with language related to alcoholism. And it says the board has been discussing pricing, format, and print dates and began preparations pending the outcome of the discussions at the July General Service Board meeting. An announcement from AA World Services or AAWS Publishing Department will be widely distributed in the coming weeks. Once some formatting matters are finalized. It is expected that the Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous, will be available in November of 2024. And the AAWS board approved a list price of $11. And I said in here to you guys, I said, I'm currently awaiting more information to be given to me. And as I know more and have some of my questions and concerns answered, I'll be able to communicate that with everyone. Well, you know, I wanted to be able to communicate it to everyone, but my good friend and fellow delegate, I have asked to join us tonight. And she was a big part of the Conference Committee of Literature. And she can explain that and go into much more detail in that than I can. And she is not only a peer, but somebody that I have a lot of respect for, very prepared delegate who has done a lot of extra work, especially with regarding the Plain Language Big Book, a tool for reading Alcoholics Anonymous. And especially since this memo came out also. And I just really appreciate that. And, it's real important because we need people like that in Alcoholics Anonymous. We need them at the home group. We need them at the district. We need them in our committees. We need them at the area. And we sure need them at the General Service Conference. So without any ado, I would like to welcome on tonight my good friend Crystal. You with us, Crystal?
Yes, thanks, Corey. And that was a nice introduction. My name is Crystal. I'm an alcoholic, and I am a panel 73 delegate. So this is my second year. And I served on literature committee, as Corey said, and also international conventions, regional forums. And I am from the best area in the whole conference, which is Area 72, Western Washington. And most importantly, my home group is Keep It Simple Sumner, Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. And let's see what else. Oh, my sobriety date is May 21st, 1993. Anything else you wanted me to start off with, Corey?
No, that was great. So I just wanted to, bring you on here and ask you a couple questions and just really get some clarity. One thing for myself that was a little concerning when I first read this, I'm trying to scroll down right to where it was. It says, talk about the past advisory actions, the 10 additional minor editorial changes,
Mhm.
and then it goes down. It pretty much read to me that all they were going to do on my initial read of it and understanding was just the 10 minor editorial changes. Now I, am not on the conference committee on literature. I serve on the conference committee of finance, but I just wanted to bring you on and kind of explain, just tell us about what the heck's going on so we're not confused.
Yeah, you're not alone. I mean, I think a lot of us, pretty much every delegate that when this got released was very confused. And so we attempted to get clarifying information, talked to quite a few trustees, and also Conference Committee on Literature. Ended up getting together just to clarify that we had all the information. And so I feel comfortable that I do have the information explained. And you have to, if you know the answer and then reread that section about the memo, then it makes more sense. And so what happened was that the memo that we did kind of had three phases. One was the minor editorial changes. Another was we asked them to look at some definitions. And then the third one was more content based that we wanted them to take a look at. And it was directed directly to publishing, and it was sent off by the secretary of Conference Committee of Literature right after the conference. I think it was just a couple of weeks later that we reviewed it as a committee and sent it off. I will say a caveat, we never saw the final memo because there was like three additional items that we added um, to the draft that was sent that we had discussed. So that was sent right to publishing. We didn't ask for it to go to trustees literature committee, but they had heard about the memo, and the thought was we should probably look at this memo because there may be questions about it and we should review it. And so when they did, they saw those first minor editorial changes, and I'll give some examples of what they are. Um, they had to do with using an and instead of a but. They had highlighted this section, and we thought it would be bold or italicizing would be better. A section break that didn't make sense. There was a reference to a telephone book, which we thought was out of date, and there was a double period. So trustees literature looked at that section and said, you know what, we're going to include this as part of the advisory action because we felt like it was an example of what minor editorial changes were. And so in an abundance of doing the conscience of the conference, they included that to like, that's a done deal, that's going to happen. And they left the other items over in publishing, and they haven't talked to publishing about it. They haven't weighed in on it. It really is in publishing's hands. So those additional items had to do with things like there's a definition section
Uh-huh.
in the plain language book. And there were some definitions that we wanted some different clarity on, or different words used to kind of describe a few things.
Yeah, we talked about that in our post conference.
Yeah. And then the last section had it was a little bit more content based in the fact that um, for example, in the sick man's prayer, that it didn't have amen in it. We thought it should be added. So that is in publishing's hands. We never asked for a report as far as like what they end up including or not. And so we will find out when everyone else does in November what they chose to implement and what they didn't. Now I know a big question is everyone wants to see the memo. And what I've always felt all the conference members should have a copy of the memo so that they can fully inform their areas about it, of what kind of happened, because this is a brand new project. We've never had anything like this. And I will say that Conference Committee on Literature, we were kind of stuck in there as far as what do we do when we have members who have some concerns that aren't deal breakers, but things we want them to relook at, but we don't have a two-thirds,
Majority.
substantial anonymity
Yeah.
on making those changes. And so we brought in the head of publishing and we had a senior staff member and we said, this is what we'd like to do. And we were assured that that would be appropriate. I've heard some criticism since then. All I can tell you is, we asked the people that we thought would know. And so we didn't ask why I don't think it's appropriate that the fellowship have the full memo, although at this point they should have what those 10 additional items are because that's now part of the advisory action.
Uh-huh.
So everyone should be able to have those 10 minor editorial changes. Because if it's part of the advisory action, that should be public for everyone. I'm not in support of the rest going to the fellowship because they haven't read the draft yet. And if publishing does make some of those changes, then it's kind of needlessly creating, you
Right.
know,
I agree.
misinformation. So
Totally understand. Totally understand. Um, so how do you feel about do you feel that the wishes of the conference committee on literature and what your group conscience was at the general service conference as a committee, do you feel that that is what's being expressed with all this?
I do. I think that in an abundance of the board trying to really adhere to the conscience of conference committee literature and the conference, they kind of did this extra step and it created confusion. I think their intentions were good, but the way that the update is written created a lot of misunderstandings. And I know myself and some others spent multiple days on the phone trying to track down, correct information and then, not just trusting one source, but multiple sources. And so, you
Which
know,
I'd like to touch on that, on how important sometimes that is. On, like you said, multiple sources to make sure that you're getting a full understanding. I just think that that's important. I've had to deal with that myself, so I appreciate you mentioning that. Um, I'm sorry. Go. I didn't mean to kind of. I thought that was a real important point to make. That's easily overlooked.
no, I agree. One source is never enough for me. Two is better, but I have about five sources that I feel very comfortable with. So all that said, I feel 99.9% comfortable that this is what's happening. But the skeptic in me always has a point one that's like anything could happen because I'm not in control. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I feel 99.9 is pretty good. Can't say 99.9 on too many things. So just in life in general. So I feel pretty satisfied with that. I know that for myself, once you explained that to me and everything, I felt much better. One thing I will say is sometimes, as alcoholics and that, for whatever reason, we're not the best communicators. And this when I saw that, when I read this and everything, it was a little concerning to me, and thankfully that is not what has happened, so we didn't have to go burn people at the stake and blow the place up, like I would have, when I was drinking and all that. Like I was able to just kind of sit back and just kind of watch it unfold and make sure we got all the information. And then this is a good example of like when we got all the information, obviously, it changed what a lot of us, the way we were reading it. So I really appreciate you taking the time this evening and coming on and explaining that because it's a lot. It really is. This is a
You're
very
telling you,
interesting.
hey, you don't have to tell me. I was on the committee.
I could only imagine how some of that went.
5 more months. I just want to say, like, you said such nice things about me, and I appreciate that. But your area is so well served, having you as our delegate, and that you get to go back another year. Just very impressed with your how much you're prepared, but also just your demeanor. Like you kind of said it. Um, you can get a lot of information coming at you, and not reacting to the first piece of information is so important. And I just think that you do such a good job of that, and your area is so well served for having that. So they're very blessed to have you as their delegate.
Really appreciate that. Now, before we cut it off here, one thing I do want to ask you about is you're a panel 73 delegate. So and I'm a panel 74. So you got to serve a year, before me, and you got to serve with our lovely Jennifer, who was our panel 72 delegate. Great, very respected and loved member in Area 26. And but she told us about the Three Legacies pamphlet, and
Oh, yeah.
that actually came as an agenda item from Area 26's literature committee. And that was hell, trying to think about that's probably 6 7 years ago, and maybe 8. And lots of work went into that, and was people were real passionate about it. And she told us the update that they were planning on they decided to make that into a service piece. And I was just wondering if you could give us some just some if you could just explain to us you know what happened with all that, and how that looks now, or at least how we
Yeah.
know that it looks now.
First of all, Jennifer, I will never forget her explaining to me for 15 minutes about snapping turtles and
Love it.
how this is like a big thing. It was blowing my mind at conference. So,
That's
anyway,
my
so
girl.
it's awesome. So last year I got to see the draft of the Three Legacies pamphlet, or at that time it was a pamphlet. And when we're looking at it, and I can't tell you everything that's in it, but what I can tell you is kind of how it was laid out. It had, it's called Three Legacies, and it had an introduction where it talked about recovery, unity, and service. And then it had a history, and just kind of in a general way, what those things mean. And then it had a history section, and it talked about the first legacy of recovery, and then unity, the second legacy, and service is the third legacy. And it had quotes from AA Comes of Age and Language of the Heart in there. And then it had a third section, which was Experience, Strength, and Hope, and it had 10 stories. And some of the stories, we loved the stories. There was one from like a district committee member, kind of their service, their service journey. One was a delegate. One was about going to an international convention. Another was about starting a group in a different country, like they had moved to a different country and bringing service there.
Cool.
And then the fourth section was spotlight on service, and it would hit things like, what does AA membership mean? What does right of decision mean? What does spiritual growth mean? And we absolutely loved it. Two things came up. It was huge, and we know, if you're on literature, you should know that 32 pages is a sweet spot for publishing. Anything over 32 pages, they don't make their money back. And the goal is always you produce a pamphlet, and within the first year it makes its money back. But over 32 pages, that's just not going to happen. And we could not figure out what to cut out because we loved all of it. And also we were trying to figure, like, we didn't see this being in a rack in the home group. Like, who is the target audience? We really saw this being a service piece or a piece of literature that general service representatives would use, district committee members, area committees, workshops, you know, tradition studies, concept studies, like just had a lot of value. And so we decided to turn it into a service piece, one so that it didn't have to be in a pamphlet format. It'll just be the regular, what is that, 8 by 11? And I don't know what the dimensions are, but regular printed paper. Um, and it would be, we asked for it to be in all the district committee member kits and general service representative kits. And we wanted it also to be a service piece because those can be more easily updated.
Uh-huh.
So if new stories came, it wouldn't have to go through the conference process. It just could be something that gets reviewed and updated throughout the years as, whenever. The only problem with this that we didn't think through is when they made the new policy on service pieces, they don't have to report back to Conference Committee on Literature or even Trustees Literature on progress. And so we didn't get a progress report at this conference on that project because it's with the staff desk now. And, from what we looked at, it should have been done and printed and being sent out and available because there wasn't much work to do on it coming out of our committee last year. Um, it is something that, since you and I talked, that I'm going to try and find out an update on where it's at. But I will tell you that I just got an update that the literature workbook that they've been working on for
Uh-huh.
12,000 years, um, and was supposed to also be ready last year isn't ready. Like, kind of, I don't know if, what I will say in defense of the literature desk is that a new staff member took over. And so there was a change in staff. And so maybe with that kind of new workflow and learning the new position, some of the works got backlogged. So,
And that would make sense because you know, maybe just in case some people don't realize their workload is insane. Insane. So yeah, I appreciate you doing that. And the new, just in case anybody didn't know, our new literature committee, or excuse me, our new literature desk person is actually our good friend Rainer L, who is from the Southeast region, was a past delegate out of North Carolina. Really good. Seen him, a lot of you guys have seen him at the regional forums and things like that before he was a GSO staff member. And Rainer's awesome. And if you have any questions or anything like that, always you can feel free to obviously reach out to me, but you could also call GSO and Rainers who you would be in touch with. So
and
yeah,
I just
really
have
cool.
to say, like, he's amazing. I'm a huge fan. Conference Committee on Literature is not an easy committee. And he just was a rock star. It was his first conference, and I just think he's absolutely amazing. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, he is. He's great. Well, I greatly appreciate it, Crystal. Thanks for taking your time out of your evening to join us here in Kentucky. And just wanted to tell you guys, we got some upcoming things coming. Um, So next Friday, or excuse me, next Saturday, which will be August 17th, in Owensboro here, where I live in District 17, the Owensboro 1728 group is going to present Speaker Under the Stars meeting. And that'll be out back in the backyard at 320 Crittenden Street space. And we'll be grilling out and doing all that. And the speaker will be our very own alternate delegate, Katie. KDS will be the speaker. The food and fellowship will start at 6:30 Central Time, and the speaker will be at 8 Central Time. That'd be 9 Eastern. Um, also Saturday, the Louisville Host Committee is doing their gratitude mini convention from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. at St. Michael's Orthodox Church on 3701 St. Michael Church Drive. That's in Louisville. There'll be AA and Al-Anon speakers, food, fellowship, fun. $10 suggested donation. That all goes to the Louisville Host Committee. They always do a great job, especially with all their events and hosting the Kentucky State Convention. Um, September 6th through the 8th will be the Bridging the Gap workshop. We know that our own James is going to go to that. That's in Montana, hosted by Area 40. If you're interested in that, give James a call. If you need that information, you can holler at me. Um, we've got on Saturday, September 7th, the AA Group, a District 14 workshop. That'll be in Georgetown, Kentucky, at the Georgetown Church of the Nazarene, 726 Lemons Mill Road, from 1 to 3. And there'll be a panel discussion, sharing session. The District 14 meeting will be at that time at that location from 10 to 11:30 a.m. and then from 1 to 3 will be the panel workshop. Be awesome if you're able to check that out. Sunday, September the 8th, the 65th annual Bill W. Picnic hosted by District 7. That'll be in Bronston, Kentucky, which is right outside of Somerset. Be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And I believe, yeah, Katie is the speaker for that also. Katie getting it in this month and next month. Get it, girl. Um, District 16 in Berea, Saturday, September 14th, will have their picnic. And guess who the speaker is? It'll be Katie also. Yeah, Katie's got an excellent story if you've never heard her. She uh give gives me a break for a little bit. She's always I wouldn't be able to do it without her. She's an excellent member. And then don't forget, guys, October 12th and 13th will be our fall assembly here in Area 26. It'll be hosted by District 7. It'll be in Somerset. And it's going to be we're going to have all kinds of cool stuff, and we're going to have a bunch of work. It's going to be a workshop weekend. And our good friend, our neighbor to the south, Jimmy W., the delegate for Area 64 in Tennessee out of Chattanooga, he'll be coming up and joining us, and he's going to do a workshop on how to write a proposed agenda item, step by step, how to write it. And it'll be awesome. So check that out. We always like to party and have a good time. And then don't forget two things. Kicky Paw 2024 will be in November 15th through the 17th in Lexington at the Clarion Hotel, same place the state convention was this past year. Check that out. Kicky Paw is awesome. And then the Southeast Regional Forum will be in Biloxi, Mississippi, December 6th through the 8th. It'll be at the Golden Nugget. What better place to have it than at the Golden Nugget? We can Biloxi's beautiful little town. We'll have all kinds of fun. If you've never been to a regional forum, you need to go. If you have concerns about the Plain Language Big Book or about anything in Alcoholics Anonymous, the regional forum is the place to go and express that to the GSO staff and to the trustees and the General Service Board. So check that out. The flyer is on our Area 26 Facebook page. All these flyers also have been available both through the email and on the private Facebook group. Crystal, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us and being our guest this evening.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. All right. That'll take care of this little interview here. I hope to I'm gonna really try to start doing a few more of these guys and have some other people from some other committees come on and join us and explain, that way we can all learn together and look at things from different avenues that we don't normally get to see. So Crystal, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you again. Appreciate all your service, and I hope everybody has a good weekend, guys. Thanks.